If you have ever faced any personal mountains in your life, mountains where the summit, its highest peak, seemed impossible to climb, then you do not want to miss this next episode. Be prepared to be inspired to climb your mountain right after this. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm Mindset Coach Lorraine Lindsay, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. And today, prepare yourself to be inspired. If you are facing adversity in your life, if you've been through challenges, you are not going to want to miss this inspiring story by a brand new guest. But before we get into the introduction of the guest and his journey, please do not forget to hit the subscription button. Give us your thumbs up. Send us your comments. We love to hear from you. And thank you. We are growing, and I am so grateful for the continued support. I am your host, Coach Lorraine Lindsay. I am a certified life coach, peak performance coach, and mindset transformation coach. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at CoachLorraineLindsay.com for scheduling. I am doing workshops. I have one-on-one coaching now available. So if you are interested and want to know more about me, please do not forget to check me out on one of my social media handles or on my website. All right, so today I am super excited to share and talk with an incredible guest who has an incredible journey. This is a brand new guest. It's his first time doing a podcast, I believe, as well. But he's also a friend that I've known for many, many years, and I am so grateful that he's here to share his incredible story. So please help me welcome Mr. Noah Solis. Sorry, Noah. A little bit about Noah. So at just 40 years old, my guest had become a millionaire. He had reached the proverbial mountaintop of the American dream. But not long after, his dream would turn into a nightmare, and it would turn his world upside down. At the age of 40, just after hitting a peak performance level in the world of sales, he suffered a life-altering heart attack. He had got a divorce after 22 years and fell into a deep suicidal depression. He was faced with climbing the biggest mountain, the mountain we call life. And with that, he embarked on a literal journey of mountain climbing, a journey that has completely changed his outlook on life. Now he is doing what he loves the most. He is following his heart and seeing God's creation in her beautiful, raw, and natural forms. And now he is here to share that if God has healed his hardened and broken heart, he can heal yours too. Noah, thank you.
Thank you, Coach. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. So, little background. You and I have known each other for years. My honey and you worked together for a big mortgage company.
We did.
And you were always at the President's Circle, which was the prestige every year of all the top producers. And that was your life. That was your career. And that was what built this millionaire lifestyle for you. So tell us about who you were at that time in your life. And then we'll get into what happened ultimately at just the age of 40, having a heart attack.
I mean, at that time of my life, obviously I was a family man. I was a husband and a father to my 19-year-old son. Outside of that, I think specifically like I was work-centered. So I was on the hardcore money chase. I was on the grind. I was the phone on me all the time, answering my phone at different hours, hearing the pings, the emails, chasing the dream and really doing what I thought was like the best thing for my family financially. But during that time, I was also like a Jekyll and Hyde. That's what my ex-wife would tell me. So I was carrying around a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and I didn't really know how to always deal with that. And that usually manifested in different types of my personality coming out. So.
And what do you mean by that? Like, what were the things, looking back and reflecting when she says that, what was those personality switches for you?
Just, I like to go all in and go hard. And sometimes when I'm in that mind state or that mind frame, everything around me doesn't matter as much. And I'm just laser focused on what I'm getting after. And what that looks like is basically just me hurting people because I'm just really centered in on what I think is the most important thing. And it's kind of pushes other people around me away.
Did you feel at that time when you were in that focus, laser focus? Because like you said, you're like, I'm focused. I was focused on business. What was the intent with the focus?
My intent, I haven't never really been into like material things. I mean, obviously buying real estate and investing, that's a huge part of my life. But my intent was just to build a beautiful future for my family and then to be able to step away from the business and really live my life. Now, whether or not I could have stepped away from the business on my own accord, or whether or not it took me having a heart attack to actually do that, I don't know. I probably think that it took a heart attack for me to have a change of mind.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that because what a profound way to be switched, right? No, because and the reason why I asked you about the intention thing is because I had a guest not long ago, and one of the things that really struck a chord with me and really resonated was when we as people have good intention, but we don't always know the impact that it will have in our lives. So, although you had this intention to say, you know what, I'm going to be laser focused, I'm going to put this burden and all the stress to be a provider for my family, what do you feel like it ultimately did for you and your family? How did it impact you all?
I mean, it impacted us by, we're definitely living a really good lifestyle by any standard or measure. When you realize how little you need and you see how good you're actually living, you could see that.
Mm.
But I think it just impacted because everything was off on me. I mean, I tell people during kind of like leading up to my heart attack and becoming a millionaire, like every part of my life was on fire except for my finances. So my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, all these things were on fire around me except my money was right. And it was taking a big toll on me.
Wow. Expand on that. What do you mean? Like, why was it taking a toll on you?
Just a lot of the pressure and the stress. Just really, that's what it was. I had a difficult time, kind of going through that process. For me, anyways, I had to kind of get thick skin and
Hmm.
not let things really phase me, and just changing. It was just like changing me. I wasn't, I was kind of lacking the fruits of the spirit. I mean, I didn't really have joy. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't necessarily kind. I was shorter with my fuse, like just impatient. I mean, those are not really the best attributes to have.
And I guess that's what, like when you said, the impact was okay, ultimately, tangibly, things were changing in our lives. So I was making money and the tangibles were changing. But then on the other side of that, the other impact was I was changing as a person on the inside. And so the impact was I wasn't as pleasant, even though my intention was so good and so purposeful, impactfully, it kind of the stress had got to you to the point where it affected you and your family. Would you say that's pretty spot on, or?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was impacting me in all the different ways. I mean, every year I would have a different thing that would happen to my body that I couldn't really explain. Like it was a twitching of an elbow or a twitching of my eye, or all these different things were happening. I was like, what's going on? This is all stress related.
And you're young. And so you're thinking, okay, I'm stressed, but it's not going to make me have a heart attack.
I wasn't
Right?
thinking that at all.
So take us down that path. So what was that moment tell us about what happened when you had your heart attack. Tell us about that day.
So I was doing interval training with Navy SEAL Paul Watson, and that's just high intensity, get your heart rate up really high. And we finished the workout that day, and it was about 10 minutes after the workout, I started sweating profusely. And I couldn't figure out why I was sweating after I had already sweated through a workout. So I was really embarrassed. So I just rode my bike to the corner of the gym, like off in the distance, just to be away from everyone because I was embarrassed. And then little did I know that I was having a heart attack.
Wow, that's so scary.
Yeah.
Especially you're like working out.
Yeah, trying to be healthy and fit,
Right.
eating
So
right.
were you always working out? Were you always doing this fitness stuff, or was there some turning point where you're like, I got to get back on track? Did you have any other way of knowing that this heart attack was on its way?
I didn't have any way of knowing that it was on its way. And I mean, I think it was about 14 years ago, I lost like 60 pounds. So I had done pretty good keeping it off. But weight will always be a challenge for me because I could gain weight really quickly and really easily. But I mean, I didn't fit any of the risk factors that you learn about when you go through that process. I didn't really fit in any of those boxes. And then to happen to a 40-year-old young man, it's not really that common.
Right. So you go to the corner.
Yeah.
And you're feeling embarrassed. Like, I just had this intense workout and I'm sweating profusely and I'm in this corner. What were some of the other symptoms that you started to
So
experience?
I was on my hands and knees. I was breathing real deeply. I mean, I was full on, could hardly keep anything in. I was looking at myself. My arms were like hurt. My chest was really hurting. It was like really tight. I couldn't really figure out what
And
the
was
heck.
there anything saying, "Am I having a heart attack?"
No,
Okay.
no. So there was two women in the parking lot that day that were at the other end, and I know I looked probably like a homeless person because I was literally laying in the grass trying to cool down. So when I stood up, I mean, my body was covered with grass. I was sweating all over, and I was like, I think I need help. And
Wow.
we kind of met halfway, and then I just fell on the floor again, and I was on my hands and knees for probably 45 minutes or so, just
Wow.
breathing deep, and then finally coming to I was like, you know what, I think we need to call the ambulance. And then even when the ambulance came, I was ready to walk away and walk it off. But
Wow, that is
what
so
what it
scary.
took for me to realize something was going on, honestly, it wasn't when they did the EKG. They did the EKG. They said we need to take you straight to the hospital. But nothing was really setting in until I thought I was going to go to the hospital and wait to be seen. But it wasn't like that. There was a team of like 8 nurses waiting for me. They were taking my clothes off, shaving me down. And I just remember I looked at one woman. There was one nurse in the crowd. And when I looked at her, I saw the look on her face. And I was like, what's going on right now?
Wow, that is so scary. When did it finally dawn on you? I mean, obviously that was a moment, but when was the message like you're having a heart attack?
No, there's no message. There was, hey, we got to take you to the operating room. They're just taking me to a room. And then I'm falling asleep. And then,
Wow.
and then waking up.
So what was that like for you when you woke up? Take me there. And I know I can already see that it's affecting you. And are you comfortable to share or?
I'm going to share everything
Okay.
with you, Lorraine.
Because this is so powerful because I think that you sharing this, even just having a heart attack at that age when statistically the numbers didn't line up for people out there to hear this, you could save somebody's life in that story, just that alone. So you wake up and then what?
I wake up and it's my ex-wife and my son and my father-in-law, and they're all gathered around me, and they said that I had a heart attack. So that was the first time that I knew that.
And what did that, I mean, I don't know if you could go back to that, but what was the first thing that came to your mind?
It wasn't really registering. It didn't really make sense to me. I could not really pull it all together.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't really. It wasn't like processing. Like, what do you mean I had a heart attack?
Yeah. Yeah. Was there moments of anger or frustration or like, why me? Like, why did this happen?
No, actually, it's interesting that I never asked God why that happened. Not once did I say, God, why me? I think that I knew why me.
And at that time you were working hard and did it ever like register like has the stress cost me this? Did you realize that it was the stress or
After a while, I mean, they speculated what happened. They said an intense physical workout caused a pulmonary embolism. So a little piece of plaque kicked
that's
off in my body,
crazy.
and then it went straight to an artery and shut it down 100%. But I've always wondered the impact of the stress because I would feel waves of stress flowing through my body pretty
Mhm.
regularly, just waves of stress, and I would wonder like, what is this doing to me?
Okay, so
And stress is a big deal too.
it is a big deal. More than people realize. They say the issues are in your tissues, and it is crazy. Even for myself, I have literally felt times where the stress was so much it was triggering migraines or back problems and
Oh, back problems, yeah.
just all kind of like things and realizing, wow, this is not sustainable. And are these things that I am stressing out on this level, is it even worth the stress?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this heart attack, you're in the hospital. How long were you there for?
I was there for 6 days.
Okay.
I was in ICU for a good handful of days, and
And then what? Then you leave and you go back to life.
yeah, I left and I went back to life, and I pretty much decided I was going to take as much time as I needed off work, and then things just started hitting me differently as time went on. When it was really hitting me, it wasn't just the heart attack; it was just like everything that was happening. My
Mhm.
marriage was falling apart. Just very, very difficult. Like this, really, the only time in my life that I know that where I was just like I couldn't see any light, and that was a pretty awful feeling.
Mm, sorry you went through that. It's crazy because we'll see people in our lives. I've seen you through social media or with you and your ex-wife, and you just never know what people are battling with, what they're going through, what they're struggling with in their lives. And it's a reminder to just check in, you know? So for you,
It is a reminder to check in, and
yeah.
I do that more now with especially males are in my life, in my circle. I don't have a whole lot of business checking in with a whole lot of females like that. But males that need help or that are hurting, I regularly extend myself just to talk or listen because I know how it is.
And now, okay, and you became this mountain man, right? Let's go. I have a couple pictures of you on these summits, on these peaks, and I've just been in so much awe of your journey, the messaging you put on your Facebook, your beautiful pictures. It's so refreshing, you know. It's like I knew you had the heart attack because you had when you were well enough to say something, you had put a message out there, and then the next light to see you in these beautiful places that are picturesque, which I'm sure have their own sense of adventure and danger at, you know, I just recently watched this thing on Netflix called 14 Peaks.
Oh yeah,
Have you seen it?
a lot of times.
Oh my gosh.
At
And
least
I was
5.
so moved, and I told you it made me think about you.
Yeah.
So how were you rather able to pull yourself to a point of saying, I'm just going to like shed life and the norms of life and just set out into wilderness? Because you, like you said, your marriage was falling apart and you fell into a suicidal depression, not just a depression. You survived a heart attack, but yet now life is falling apart and you're like questioning your own life.
Vanity, like questioning everything. What was it all for? What was it all for? What was the vanity in it? What did it mean? What was the real impact? Well, I don't have a family. I don't have a wife anymore, so that was a pretty big impact.
What was the vanity for you at the time? What did it mean for you?
It's just all vanity. You're chasing things and you're chasing a future. And for me, that was trying to do what I thought was the best thing and put my family in a better situation. So paying off houses and investing and buying real estate and doing those things like that. That was the part where it's like, well, what was the cost of it? So, but I'll tell you the real pivotal point. It was 90 days after my heart attack, because you said like, oh, how did I become a mountain man? Well, I've always been kind of pretty much a mountain man. I just decided to do what I wanted to do the most and what I love to do the most, just to go all out on it. But it was really 90 days after my heart attack. I was really struggling with fear. So fear would just grip me. Like I'd feel a ting in my heart, and all of a sudden I'd start panicking, and I'd be like, God, am I gonna have another heart attack? And it was 90 days after my heart attack, and I was like, I'm not gonna live this way. I'm not gonna live in fear. God, if you're gonna take my life, then you're gonna take my life. So I grabbed my dog, my beagle, got my Bible, got my gear, and I went into the snow-covered mountains for 2 days. And I was like there in my tent, alone, out there in the wilderness, and I said, God, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, but I'm refuse to live my life in fear. And I've pretty much been no holds barred since then.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. A lot of people, when they are feeling the fears and they're going through things, they won't sit in the silence. They won't sit with their idle mind and allow that peace to be there. And so they distract and they disturb, or they cloud their mind. And sometimes that increases the depression and the things like that. So the fear was your compelling factor to do the 2 days. So when you come off that mountain after 2 days, then what was next? I mean, where do you go from there?
Well, it was. So then I had to go confront another fear, because the day of my heart attack, I had a hike planned, and it was a 22-mile single day hike. So it was a long day in the mountains, right? And if I would have went out in the mountains that day and had my heart attack, I would have died, because there would have been no one to save me. So my first agenda was to go back and tackle that. So I went back and I tackled that mountain, and I just kept pushing.
And so you did the 21 days.
22 miles.
Oh, 22 miles. I thought you said 21 days.
No.
22 miles.
22 miles in one day, yeah.
Okay.
It was a good day. It was a hard day. So that was like one of the first things that I did. And then I just kept setting myself up for more and more challenges.
Now, at this point because I know you said that your marriage was falling apart, your 90 days. At what point from you taking the 2-day mountain thing to was your marriage still together at that point, or was it?
It had unraveled.
Okay.
Yeah, it had unraveled.
So this was all part of this need for this journey for you.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So how long has it been? I mean, how many years has it been since
So it's
that?
been 4 years,
Wow.
but I really kicked it into gear the last 14 months. And when I just said, I'm going to go all out, I'm going to just live on the road. I'm going to just do what I love the most, which is in that time, I've been to 18 national parks and I backpacked 2,200 miles. I've climbed 50 peaks. So just
Wow.
trying to immerse myself in what I love the most, which is being outdoors.
Okay, so take us through that journey. So and obviously you've made money, you had money. Was there this feeling like, okay, I'm gonna just unplug for a while and I'm going to go on this journey and do these things? Was there a fear also of letting go of the old self, or were you really surrendered to that? Did you? Because it's hard sometimes when you're living a life and you have a lifestyle and you have all these things, and then you're obviously something crazy and scary, like a heart attack happens, and your family's falling apart. So I get all of those dynamics. Was there ever a point where you're like, no, I want to get back in it? Why wasn't that the route? Like, I'm just going to jump back in and just distract myself with that, what
Yeah.
I know.
I think I saw it for what it was, and I think that I saw it as a really damaging thing to me. It wasn't something that I was growing in financially, but I wasn't growing in other areas. So
Mm,
I think when I took the veil off and I saw it for what it was, I just said, you know what? And letting go of your old self, I mean, that is tough. And in a lot of ways, I have let go of my old self. And this year, I mean, I didn't renew my banking license, and that was after 19 years of being a loan officer. I
wow.
just said, you know what? That's a old part of who I am. That's an old chapter, but even when I did it, that was really hard just because it was so important to me for so long.
Right. Wow. How liberating is that?
Yeah. Hmm.
And as you share with me and I see the vulnerability and I can feel it from you. First of all, thank you. Because I know this is the first time you've ever really opened up about the whole thing.
It
So I
is.
know
Thank
that's
you.
scary. So I really appreciate you being in this space with me to share. Um, and it's so raw, it's so real. Letting go of something that was of importance to you, right? Like I said, you had good intentions with what you carried, that license that you carried. There was good intention with it.
There was.
And I think sometimes that's hard when we know that our intentions were really good and it didn't map out that way. So how do you manage that now in your life?
Um, how do I manage? I mean, I wing everything now,
Hmm.
and I just go for it. And I just believe whatever comes my way, whatever it's going to look like, I'm going to take care of it. So I don't really have stress or anxiety anymore. And I still go through my share fare of adversity because everyone does,
Right.
especially when you're climbing peaks. I mean, when you're climbing a peak, there's a lot of adversity. When you're in a snowstorm, or you could slip and die, or all the different things. It's like all those things when I'm on a peak, especially, it's like I just feel like I come down the hill and it's like, it's going to fucking break me right here. Nothing.
Right. God, that's so cool. It make me want to like get a backpack and go up a mountain.
It's hard.
I
It's
know it's a lot
grueling.
more to that than that.
Yeah, it's a
So,
lot.
I mean, it's so interesting too because there's so much metaphors to life in doing that and journeying that. That's why I use in the beginning the reference to the mountains in our lives because we all have had peaks that we needed to climb or facing some adversity, some mountain in our life and thinking, how am I ever going to get to this peak? And once I get there, how am I going to navigate my way back down? Just
Yeah.
wanting to be able to blow the mountain out of the way or walk around the mountain, but that journey is right there facing you. So what
Yeah.
did these experiences being out there and what were the challenges first? Let me start there. What were some of the physical challenges you face now with doing these climbing these summits and being out there in adverse weather? What were those type of challenges for you?
I mean, challenge is hard out there. It's rough and rugged. It's hard on your body. You're in the sun or you're in the extreme cold. Um, but really, the challenges from my heart attack didn't stem so much from the physical part because I started walking pretty quickly and moving. And I always want to make sure that I'm moving. And it's important that your audience knows that. It's like you always have to keep moving no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing.
Love that.
But really the challenge was the everything that was going on in my heart, that all the just the layers and the hurt and the brokenness of my heart that were kind of breaking down. That's where the real challenge was. And when you're talking before I started talking, you just triggered some things in me. And one of the things that you really triggered in me was this thing that I couldn't stop crying after my heart attack. I was just in this, not like a state of a depressive state, because
Hmm.
I'm conscious about how low I go and how depressed I'll let myself get in a lot of different ways, but just a very long period of mourning. And it was like it was like a 4-year period of mourning where I just couldn't stop crying. I mean, I'd cry every day. Like I just couldn't. I was like, what? Why is this? Is this like how it's going to be from here on
Right,
out?
right.
Like when am I going to summit this peak and be able to say, you know what, my heart's healed. I don't have to cry anymore. I could let go of whatever it was or whatever, you know. Um. So then I set out. I set out in 2021. I said, I'm going to go do the John Muir Trail. It's 221 miles. It's beautiful, pristine country. It's such a beautiful process. And I said, you know, surely if I can spend this time in the mountains, you know, it's 15 days. If I could spend this time in the mountains, that'll heal my heart. I don't need to cry anymore. God's worked on me. It's, you know, and that wasn't the case. And
It
then
was not the case.
was not the
What
case.
happened? What was the experience?
I mean, it was a beautiful, enriching, powerful experience, but I didn't stop crying. And that was my prayer and hope when I started the trail, like heal my
Why
heart.
did you feel like you needed to stop crying?
I just felt like I had been mourning and different things for a long time. And I
Gotcha.
couldn't understand why I was still allowing that to come into my mind and for me to replay those things. It had been a long time. So then I decided last year in 2022, I was like, well, I'm going to do the Colorado Trail.
Okay.
I'm going to step it up. That was 486 miles. That was,
Oh my goodness.
you know, that was 40 days and nights in the wilderness. And then I was like,
Wow.
there's got to be like a biblical thing
Like
here.
Moses.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that when I started, but after I was on it, I was like, shit, I'm spending 40 days in the wilderness. Like, God, heal my heart. I want my heart healed now. I don't need to
You know,
cry
it's so
anymore.
interesting when you say heal my heart, because we're talking about a heart attack and the physicality, the muscle, the tissue, the fibers that had healed.
That had healed.
But it was the spiritual, the soulful, the identity construct, the emotions of the heart that still needed its healing.
Yeah.
And that's so profound to think about, because initially I thought you were talking about literally healing your anatomy, right? And no, you're talking about all the layers and the depths of that moment. So when you go to you do this 40 days and 40 nights. First of all, did you find that you got your healing there?
Not how I was expecting.
Okay.
You know, when you spend time like that alone in nature, different things are happening to you that you may not even be conscious about. Different healings occurring in you because you're out there all alone. It's just you and God. It's just you're working through your mind. You're walking all day long. You're not on your phone or staring at your TV or your screen. It's really intimate time with God, right? But I mean, I'm sure things were healing in my heart during that time. I mean, there was a period for 5 days straight where it's called the San Juans in Colorado, where we walk through literally tens of billions of wildflowers.
Wow.
Day in and day out on every side of the mountain, on every peak and every valley. And I was just imagining, like, what is that doing to me? That has to be healing in some different way to be out in nature like
How
that.
magical is that?
Magical.
The energy and the force of nature is something to be reckoned with for sure. So when you came to the end of this 40 days, you know what I would assume is everything gave you something,
Everything
right?
gave me
And then
something.
you gave it something, right? You left a piece of you with it too. And what has it led you to this today? Like, who do you see yourself now versus who you were 4 years ago?
I think I see a lot of similarities, but I mean, I'm a new man through and through. So that was just an old part of me. That's a part of me that, I mean, it's just an old part of me. So I just, how I am now, I have a lot of joy. I have a lot of contentment. I have a lot of peace. And once you kind of taste those things and you tasted what was on the other side of it, it's really hard to go back to that because it feels really fulfilling. And the bank account may not be as fulfilling, but the other part of it feels really dang good.
You know what's interesting is that life is so unique in the way that it lends us a sorrow so we can appreciate our joy. And I don't know if you would have truly experienced those 40 days or the 2 days, in fact, had you not gone through what you went through. You wouldn't have been able to see and embrace and maybe be in touch with God and your spiritual side as much. Would you think? Or
I think you're absolutely right because there's this thing of stop and smell the roses. And for me, I was always a future thinker. So I was always looking ahead. But I mean, I married my high school sweetheart. That's what I was supposed to do, right?
Right.
Just provide and take care of your lady. That's the main thing. So, but a lot of that came with not living for the moment. It was in the future, planning, striving. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make this money, make this investment. But really just slowing down to just say, be in the moment.
Yeah.
Just be in the moment.
What I love too is that, and I want you to talk a little bit about this, but you've talked and you've shared that a lot of these solo journeys that you've taken. But recently, I've been seeing a lot of you and your son on the mountaintops and doing these things. So tell us about that and how that came to be. Because what I can only imagine how incredibly bonding that is for the two of you.
So my son Isaiah has been my adventure partner for a really long time
Okay.
now, actually. But
And
really,
how old is he now?
he's 20 years old.
He's so handsome.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
he's a good looking kid. So
He's got
okay,
a
he's your
beautiful
he's your buddy. He's your
Yeah.
travel buddy. So tell us about that and you two taking these adventures together.
So just in the last 14 months on my road trip, I flew him in 3 times and met with him 1 time. So if I'm in Colorado or Utah or Oregon, I just call him up, say, hey, you got 7 or 10 days to kill. Let's come hang out with Pa. And we're going to go on adventures and jump in lakes and climb mountains and hike and just be men, shoot guns, hang out, bullshit, just enjoy each other's company. But he's down for whatever. And he's a little mountain man too. I mean, he likes to polar plunge and jump in freezing cold lakes. And I mean, he gets after it.
Gosh, that's so special.
So special. It's an incredibly unique thing. I encourage every man, and a lot of the households are failing. You got one woman, right? And that's not the natural design of things. The natural design is for 2 healthy people, a man and a woman, to raise their child, right? And, just I encourage, I say that because if it's just the woman raising the kid, no, take your kids in the mountains, spend some time with them, even if it's just parks or, more like camping type deal. Go get that time. It's going to be really unique. They're not going to have their devices. You're going to connect with them. You're going to get to walking. One of my favorite things to do, Lorraine, is just walking in the mountains with people I care about.
I love that.
Just taking a walk with someone I care about. If I'm going to take them to see a beautiful waterfall that they've never seen or a valley that's going to blow their mind. And, the whole time you're out there, you're not talking because you want your own time too.
Right.
But when you stop and intersect and visit, it's just very enriching to me. It feels very good. One of my favorite things.
You know what? And what's so beautiful about that is it costs you nothing to do it. I mean, I know there's some places you have to pay like a very minimal fee or whatever, but there's so many places, even if it's a park. And you're absolutely right. It's just disconnecting for a moment from all of the distraction and just being present with someone that you really care about.
It's really special.
And then what's really unique in that is to say we can be in this space together as much as we can be in the space together individually, just taking in what we need to take in and then intersecting, like you said, and having a conversation, then going back. Arturo and I, that's been like our thing now. I'm like, okay, on the weekends, now that the weather's beautiful, I want us to get up and just be in nature. Because for me, it's very, it's how I get my energy back, right? Because I'm very sensitive to people's energy and I'm sensitive to stimulation, so I get very drained. And so the earth and all of its creation, it really refills me. I see how you just took that breath. That's how I feel when I'm in nature. So I love, it's just that simple. Take the time to do that, right?
I don't think that we're designed to be in a box. And I think that most of us just live in a box. I mean, we talk in a box, we stare at a box, we jump on our box of a car and drive to work, and we get in our box we come home, we sit in our box, we lay in all these things.
I don't think so true.
Yeah, we're not designed to be in box, okay?
Yeah.
We're designed to get out there and see life. And the more that you do that, the more fulfilled you're going to feel, the less depressed you're going to be. You're going to be healthier because you're going to be moving all around.
So true.
It's nurturing for your mind. It's healing for your mind. I don't really encounter people in the woods that are like angry and hate life. You see that in the city.
Right. That's so true, right? Or you think about like countries where they don't have all of this first world type stuff. And they're just, villages or things like that. They just live a very simple, very peaceful life. And it's something to be envied, and I love to travel the world and I love being in places like when I recently went to Spain and we were up in the village in the Basque Country and these people are like, I swear they're like 200 years old and they're still like out there like doing their thing, but they're so chill. And I'm like, they're relaxed. And it takes me time. I remember we were in a farmer's market type thing. And because I'm so wired to be moving quickly, at some point, someone said to me, slow down.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that even transactionally, like buying the olives and things, I was moving fast and I didn't even realize it. And I said, gosh, they're right. There's nowhere else I need to be right now. Why don't I just chill out? And realizing like, wow, everything, I even eat fast. Like, I'm like, I need to slow down. But that's what this life that I think that I need has manifested, I guess, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word.
You and most of America.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why I love this kind of conversation. And like I said in the beginning, it's very inspiring. So what's next for you? What do you see yourself, or do you forge ahead in that way? Because you said one of the things that you would do all the time was you were always like in your future mind. What do you do? Do you have plans? Do you make plans, or are you just day by day now?
So I'm day by day now. I have to be real conscious about future thinking. The reality is it was 6 months before my heart attack, I couldn't future think anymore. And I thought that was very strange. For whatever
Really?
reason, it shut down. And I would even go home, I'm like, I don't know why I'm not future. This is weird. And literally I had my heart attack, and within days I was like, holy moly, no wonder I couldn't future
Wow.
think anymore.
That's so eerie. That's crazy. That is so interesting.
So my future plans is just like, look, I can make my plans, but God has plans of his own. I
Yeah.
definitely have things that I want to do and get after. I'm definitely going to see the world. I'm definitely going to climb peaks. I'm going to backpack all of the world, not just America.
When did you realize that? That's interesting what you just said. I kind of have to ponder that a little bit. You had stopped future thinking. It was like your body, your inner being knew that there may not be a future for you to think about.
Yeah.
That is so. When
Craziest
did that
thing.
hit you though, that you realized that you put the two together?
I said 6 months. I mean, it was probably maybe 4 or 6 months before where I stopped the future thinking. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then, I put it together almost instantly after my heart attack.
You're like, this is why.
This is why.
I got to think of a new future because I'm still here.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Noah, I thank you. I think wow, this is it's so beautiful, much more than I expected. I knew it was going to be beautiful because, like I said, I have been watching you share, and I love that you share. Right, I just absolutely love it because I feel like we need it. I think people are so glued to their devices and their social media. So I always love when people share things that are inspiring and beautiful, and they're living a life that is truly authentic to themselves and where they are. And I love that you share it. And you always have these beautiful, like, I call them like your little blogs, like of what you share. For those of you out there that want to see all of his beautiful videos and places that he's been, you can check him out on his TikTok channel. He does have a YouTube channel, but he does more on TikTok. But I want you to start posting even on YouTube because I love my YouTube, okay? But you can find him both or tell them how they can find you.
TikTok is good. That's
Talk. His favorite.
I like to be on Talk. I know a mountain man. And then Noah, like Noah's Ark, mountain man. And my Facebook is really where I basically blog my story, and then TikTok is where I video share my story. So my Facebook is Noah Solis, NOAHSOLIS. And I'm just getting started with where I'm going, and I'm just getting started with my content creation. I'm gonna invest in drones and really good things to really start sharing my story more deeply. And
please, because I love it. I love it. One day I'll be watching a Netflix story about you. Noah the Mountain Man.
I like it.
Well, thank you for your story, your transparency, your openness. I really, really appreciate you coming here today.
You're very welcome.
And it's great to see you standing up and alive and well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So until next time, thank you for watching. And again, please don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Ciao.